Oh, look at that. Look at that. Sasha, the man himself. Hey, today's a special episode, I think, for both of us, isn't it?
Yeah, but before I say, I'm like, where is everyone? I'm already at our booth waiting.
I know. Dude, it's not until October 1st. I've told you that. You've got to get that stuff out of there. I'm going to get charged for the space. You can't go in there early.
People are telling me, what am I doing? They didn't like that I had a sleeping bag. I was eating food. And they're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm getting ready.
How'd you even get that stuff into the fence show?
Mate, I've got the accent, buddy. I just say, g'day.
They don't understand what you're saying. They're like, just go, 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 go. But hey, today's episode it touches on something that you and I talk about a lot, right? And I think we feel the same towards small businesses and one truck crews and things like that. So chucking a truck, and if anybody knows me, and I think especially you probably, I hate that term. I hate one truck chuck. Chucking a truck, trunk slammers. I mean, I just can't stand it because I feel like that's where a lot of the fence companies started off with, and it kind of just irritates me a little bit every time I hear it. But you know what I mean? It's it's out there and it's real. I mean, if you were to go look up the definition of chucking a truck, it's a legitimate thing. I mean, it's been defined. It's actually been defined out there. To a certain type of contractor or person doing work. But not every crew, right? You know this. Not every one-man crew out there is a chuck in a truck, right?
When you start labeling people, right, I think that's where things get a little, like, wiry. Look, we're in the fencing industry. Like, if you're putting fence, you're a fencer. Fence lady, fence man, doesn't matter. Chucking the truck, I'm like, dude, my first, because as people that know me know that I came out of install and I went to the supply side. Man, I was working with a small fence company. Look, we're a fence company. I'm sorry. We do good work. We prided ourselves in good work. Servicing our clients. Don't label us. Like, we start somewhere. We started with one truck, two truck, three truck. So what do we, after we go to one truck, what do you label me?
Yeah.
The two truck. You know what I mean? Look at what
well, I mean, being small doesn't mean unprofessional. It really doesn't. And I think that's kind of what it's been labeled as. As when you think of chucking a truck and stuff, it's not really. It's thrown out there as an insult, right? But nonetheless, I mean, and we've kind of labeled just anybody that doesn't have multiple trucks, right? Doesn't have a big enough company is now. It has this slander, this one truck chuck thing, or whatever you want to call it. So being small doesn't mean it's unprofessional at all. No. You can be professional with one crew, working out of your personal vehicle and stuff like that. Some of the best work in our industry comes from one man shops that take pride in doing what they're doing. In fact, I bet you that a lot of good quality work comes from guys that are just out there every day controlling the quality that's going out for their company. So, I mean, what do you think?
Look, I don't even know. I get nervous, right, when we talk about this because I don't ever like using the word, right? But now you've imprinted it in my brain today, right?
Yeah.
So, but look, Lion Fences is not a big. We're a small company, so what are you going to call me, the one chuck supplier?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I love my clients, and we have them from very big, lots of trucks to the one truck. And I love them. Like, they'll come in, we'll sit down, we'll have a chat. And I'm sorry, they're as valuable to me as my big clients because they're the same. They're all like, we're all in fence. And unfortunately, we've got to start somewhere. And look, I've got some really cool, I don't even know what to call them. Let's call them, I don't know, the one truck. That's
fence
all they want
to. Hey, I call them fence companies.
Exactly. Right? See, thank you. See, I did not know. That's how effed up our industry is, Brian.
Yeah.
Like, they're fence companies. They're not. And there's some fence companies that don't want to be bigger, and they're putting up thousands and thousands of lineal feet of chain link. They're putting on thousands and thousands of, maybe not thousands of iron, but they're putting on big job. Like, they're just happy, right? So how do I judge someone that is happy to have one truck or one crew? Like, that is ridiculous.
Right. So, I mean, while we're on that, Sasha, what do you call a fencer in space?
Oh, dude, I'm too dumb for that.
It's an astronaut, you racist. Come on.
See? That's that's my point.
That's what I mean. We
What's
label
been
fencers. As you know, and I think I had a supplier once call me and say, "Hey, what do we got to do to get your business?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Treat me like anything other than a fencer, because if you're a fencer, it feels like we got to fight to get accounts sometimes. And by the way, if we do get it after a thorough investigation, we're on the crappiest tier level, right? Sometimes, so it's like that's what you'd have to do. But when I say, I'm not even thinking fencers. When you say chuck in a truck, I mean, or even just small fence companies, one man crews. I mean, that applies to all the trades. Which
Yeah,
I mean, it applies across the board. So and that being said, but is a chuck in a truck? I mean, I guess if you really want to try to use that in a term, I think it came. Is it that guy that shows up with no license, no insurance, right, and has no intention of standing behind his work, right, and he underbids everybody, while he's cutting corners, no permits, no safety, no standards, no warranty, and when something goes wrong, where's that guy?
yeah,
Where's that guy? He's gone, right? So when I think of something like chuck in a truck, I think I think of that guy, right?
yes,
So,
yes.
or a trunk slammer or a one truck chuck or something. That is what I think of, right? I don't think of just a company that just because he only has one truck, and I think that we start categorizing them into this, and that's what creates this barrier, right? That's what creates a barrier of entry even into our industry. So it makes it so difficult, you know.
I think we've
And,
pushed everybody that is a fence company with one truck. I love you. Just changed my life, right? Because I
yeah,
didn't know how I was going to get around this one truck. When we push everybody into that category, that's ridiculous, right? If you're licensed, you're doing everything right. It's ridiculous. You can't just label everybody in
yeah,
there. Because I'm with you, Brian. When I think of that word, and I understand some clients that are mad because you're right, they're unlicensed,
yep,
they've got no overhead, they're doing dodgy things, they don't stand by their work, and then they're out and gone when you need their help, right? As a
yeah,
client. So
yeah,
that when I think of that word, that's exactly what I think of. I think of guys that I don't even want to sell to. That's those
yeah,
people because I want to work with, people that look. California, Vegas. Like meeting you over last, man, I didn't realize. I thought California had all these regulations. My goodness, Vegas has a lot of regulations, right?
yeah,
You got to fit into things. So the guy that has one truck, fence company,
yeah,
like they're licensed, they're doing the right thing. That's it. They're a fence company. Move on. Let's just move on and support them. And if
yeah.
they want to grow, great. If they don't want to grow, great again. Like the point is, they're in our industry, and we need to support them.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. And I think that sometimes we forget this, but in this country, whether you're in business for 1 hour, 1 day, or 100 years, you're just as legitimate of a business. So it doesn't make you any more legitimate. So,
Yeah,
and I think that we forget that. So
yeah,
and that's tough. And I think that we look at these trades, and now that if you notice the shift, even in this podcast, we're getting a lot more trade related stuff. Not even which all applies to us in the fence industry, because I felt like we didn't have enough on the fence side. Really, we really didn't, to add credibility and professionalism in our industry. Everything we were doing was to keep everything the same, not to change it. Right. So I'm like, well, I had to reach outside of our fence industry to start talking to people, believe it or not. Besides the people that were kind of like pushing our legacy groups and associations, and I had to reach outside of this whole network that we built of recycled networking to find people that would actually give me information to share with everybody, believe it or not. So, and I thought that was pretty interesting when I talked to, a few of them that were dealing with the same struggles, the trades, and what makes, some of those trades, we talk about professionalism, we kind of gatekeep even our materials. We gatekeep everything in this industry. We gatekeep our standards. We gatekeep our materials, our shows, our suppliers. I mean, you name it, manufacturers. It's all in our industry gatekept to a degree, right? So you go outside of that, get into electrical, plumbing. You go to an electrical supply house, and this is what I've been researching a lot. And this is how I've been, because how are we going to take FWA and some of this other in a direction that's actually going to grow the industry without it stalling out or being absorbed into another industry? Like, look, the
right.
gate operators and gates have been absorbed into the door industry because we failed them on the fence side, right? So that's why they're writing all this down. That's why they're kind of doing it, right? So that's why they've separated out. Ag industry went out on their own because we failed them on the fence side. So we've done nothing to really kind of grow it and create this environment, right, for people to grow. So you look at electrical and plumbing, and go to an electrical supply house, and if you're an electrician, you could buy from them. There
Yep.
is no, we're not going to sell to you because, we got a couple large ones here, right? They're not going to sell to you because they have a big customer. And if there is price difference, it's not dramatic, right? I mean, obviously, like anything, you buy in bulk, you get discounts, right? But we didn't really have that much of an open door policy in ours. So, and I think that's how we create professionalism, right? That's how we get rid of these, so-called chuck, if you want, chuck in a truck kind of stuff, and you separate.
I mean, I get it because
Yeah,
it's that word to me is. I'll be honest. To me, that's an ugly word.
yeah,
So I categorize, and I'm with you. I know we're going to beat a dead horse, but me and you started this conversation. Oh wow, like 3 years ago, um, 2.5 years ago when we did our first podcast together, and that was what we were sort of talking about. Was that frustration? Is how do we support the industry rather than labeling it? And as a foreigner, those of you that don't know, I'm not from Alabama. I'm from Australia, right?
yeah,
But the one thing I love about this country is the opportunity to grow, to create your little business,
yeah,
to to get out there and have a go. America is the greatest country because that is one. I'm not going to get into politics, right? I mean, you're probably going to have a fight, but that's what I love about this country is like Lion couldn't do what it did if it was in any other country in the world. But
yeah,
in America, we have the opportunity to to as a small business to grow and to compete with the big guys. Like, what's the problem? I don't understand.
yeah,
Competition isn't bad so long as it's fair,
yeah,
right? So yes, like my bigger clients are going to get a bit of a better price discount because they buy in bulk, but it doesn't mean the smaller fence companies are going to get ripped off because I don't want to do. I love those guys.
yeah,
I
yeah,
get a lot more personal with them because I'm generally dealing with the owners and their wives a lot. So it's like this little community within a community, right? That's why I love our industry because fencing, we've got communities, but inside those communities, we've got families. And there's
yeah,
these little communities that, dude, you get to meet some amazing people. Like, I have met some insanely talented fence company guys that have one truck
yeah,
because they love to do the work themselves. They're hands on, they weld special gate, they do all this fancy stuff. What's
yeah,
wrong with them? Why
yeah,
can't I support them? Why do I have to give them the right act
yeah.
without feeling, oh, do you have a yard?
Absolutely.
No, I work in my garage. Who cares?
Yeah,
Are you
yeah, I
legit?
agree.
Legal?
I
I got
agree,
it.
and I think that's what I loved about this episode was getting in. Let's do a shout out for Aaron Preston, man.
Let's
By the way, Aaron, I don't think we reached out to you yet. We drew about 10 random people, and you became one of them for a free all access pass to the Fence Show. So if you haven't got that in the email, or maybe I'm not supposed to say it yet, but Aaron, thank you for all your support. I probably just spilled something. Maybe the emails didn't go out yet or the messages, but we're gonna
so
make sure he
say,
gets.
cut it
We're
out,
gonna.
Brian.
I mean, no, he's on every one of our shows, and we love him for that. So we're gonna help him out, figure out what we got to do to make sure he makes it over to the Fence Show in Vegas this year in
Yeah,
October. So
awesome.
he may have got a message, or may not yet. So I'm probably going to get in trouble for that. But since he popped on there, it came into my mind, and you know me, we can't help it. But
Yeah,
but
me too.
so that being said, because I do want to get into what the difference is, what separates a fence company from a chuck and a truck, you want to call it, right? What separates those? Because we already defined a chuck and a truck. I think actually would be a guy, maybe you could call it that shows up with no license, no
Yeah,
insurance, no intention, right, of standing behind his work. I'll say it again: he underbids everyone, cutting the corners because it's
yeah,
obviously everything's low. He's not doing it right. You know what I mean? And and no permits, no safety standards, no warranty. And if something goes wrong, poof, this guy
yeah.
is never found again. There's no fence signs on there. He didn't, he didn't have JC Gurry printing no signs for him. Nothing. He wanted no phone numbers. His phone goes off. It was probably one of those disposable 7-Eleven ones or something, right? Right. but
Right.
but nonetheless, what separates them?
Going down a rabbit hole, buddy. Rabbit hole.
I know. So what are the struggles of a new small business though? And and it's something I don't think I've shared enough with people when I talk to a lot of people. Because with me, I'm old school. I'm about calling, basically. I mean, I'm pick up the phone and call. I mean, even we talk, right? I mean, I call people over texting, and I think that if you want to, if you're slow, you got to start calling. Don't just send emails and
Yep.
spamming and all that stuff and all that. But it's important to have your presence. But I don't know if I've ever told you what call stands for. You
No,
know, for
tell
I mean,
me nothing.
this is literally if you're a small fence company, what do you need to take it to the next level? And call. It's pretty simple: credibility, accounts, leads, and licensing. And that's kind of the foundation of taking it to the next level. You know,
Yep.
and I think that's where Fence Workers Association came in. You know, my mentality behind that and what was out there, I didn't feel like was actually helping people get to that level unless you had a lot of money. Now, if you had a lot of money, we had plenty of stuff set up for you. We had
Yes.
$5,000 classes you could go to and fly out to other states and shows and everything you could go if you could afford $400 or $500 hotel rooms and passes and $1,000 education and $5,000 whatever it was. I mean, if you could afford $1,000 worth of standards, you could do all. We could help you become more professional. But the problem is, a majority of the fence companies, as we know, are not able to send 5 people around to places that cost that much money. So I think that was what it was. And I think, when it comes down to it, credibility, for me, and I don't have Susan in the background, by the way, if everybody can tell, to pull stuff up. So I'm like, normally she's like able to pull stuff up and kind of guide me. So it's kind of just me. So what do you think credibility is, Sasha?
So I want to answer some. I want to just what on to your point before that point. Brian, the beautiful thing about when you're starting a small business, a lot of the owners are hands on, right? They're out in the field. They're quite like so. It's not just about the money to go to these things. It's about, dude, I can't go because I'm physically out there with a crew making sure. So we forget we're just leaving these guys out because in order for them to go places, it has to be affordable, one, and
Yep.
then it has to be accessible too. And I feel like that's why we've missed this opportunity. And I think I know FWA and FWA women are doing a great job at reminding this group, dude, no, we got you. Like
Right.
we're going to make it affordable. We're going to be flexible, because it's important that you're part of the fence industry, right? Answering
Tough
credibility
one.
starts firstly with, like your character. But when you take that away, credibility isn't, look, when you're brand new, how do you create credibility? Like, let's say I've started,
Right.
like, well, Lion's a perfect example. Like,
Yep.
we were born out of a necessity, literally necessity. We don't need to, that horse is buried and rotten, so we don't need to dig up that history. But
Yeah.
we were literally born out of necessity. So how do we gain credibility? By being like all your calls, being available, making the calls, being honest, servicing the hell out of people. When I ask for a quote request, you get it in 40 minutes. You know what I mean? All these
Yeah.
little things to create that credibility. And I feel
Yep.
it's the same with the install companies, right? You're new, who cares? So how do I create this credibility? By being responsive. Like
Yeah.
go to that walk. Be really responsive to whoever you're doing the site visit with. Follow up, get the quote, ring them up, say, how does all this stuff I feel like you can do. And I love what you said. I had an argument today. I cannot tell you who it was. Most people know my staff. So because for some reason, texting and email,
Yeah.
that's not communication, mate. So you want to build credibility, pick up the phone. Like
Well,
have the call. If you
yeah.
can go face to face, that's awesome. But often we don't have that opportunity. So it's just being available and picking that phone up and making these things. Nobody wants to cold call. Nobody, look, I sweat to this day about cold, but you've got to do it. In order to build credibility, you've got to be approachable and you've got to create relationships. And the only
Yep.
way to do that is to either be in front of someone or be responsive to a quote, but also pick up the phone and just say, hey,
Yeah.
what did you think? Was I close? Was I good? And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, you start to build that credibility. And as
Yeah.
you get one job, you take a pictures, and you know what I mean. And then all of a sudden, our industry, even
Yeah.
the residential guys, I tell them all the time. We were doing a little bit of both, but then we got completely into commercial. But when you do a great job to one neighbor, the other neighbor's jealous.
Yeah.
So that's your in because they're like,
Well,
"Where'd you get your fence from?
I,
Wow,
I
what the
like
heck? Oh, from
I
Joe,
like
what, your fence, you know?"
I like your approach too. I mean, but I was looking at it like when I sat down and I said, what can I do? Not just our industry and the trades as a whole. What can I do to help somebody's credibility? I can't make them make phone calls. You can't
Yeah.
make them be professional. You can't make them wear a clean shirt during the day and going to the job sites and maybe printing your name on your shirts or the badge and all this stuff. You can't do that. But I'm like, so first question I ask him is, I'm like, what's your presence? How's your online presence? How's your
Yeah.
presence in general?
Yeah.
And I started thinking to myself, well, what can we do to help those people
Yeah.
that are new, starting out? What are we going to take a guy that he bought it? He bought a pair of postal diggers, a wheelbarrow, and he's been building fence on the weekends. He's a great fence builder, but he's got another job. And some people do this part time and do that until they can afford to actually break away completely from driving a forklift at Southern Wine and Spirits in the warehouse, and
Yeah.
now they're building fence permanently. But that's a hard transition to make. Obviously that, we needed health insurance and things like that, which we kind of set up with the FWA Health, but that's not enough to make somebody switch over. So I ask them, what's your online presence? Start with that, right? Because you're trying to make yourself look more credible to people when you're out there bidding stuff, and how, and call. Obviously it's all about that part of it, right? So credibility, I'm like, how's your website? So I'm thinking to myself, well, gosh, we got to be able to help them get a website. Obviously you can go to plenty of places and get a website. So, back then we built fencename.com. And I don't think I should share that so everybody can see that. There is a ton of fence companies using this. And this is, keep in mind, this is a stepping stone to going, and then you start here maybe, and you go over to, Clever Fox or .com or whoever, brand builders, all the people in our industry that are now doing, dedicated fence websites that are on a whole nother level. There's no doubt, right? They can do that. But sometimes you got to work your way up to it. And any site's better than no site, right? So I'm going to try to share this thing here and show you. But
But I think while you're doing that, Brian, again, that's why it's amazing having FWA, because that stuff as a fence person, it's not necessarily on the front of your mind, right?
yeah,
But when you realize that online presence is so important, it's so true,
yeah, yeah. So I tell them flat out, just straight. If you could start with a website for $6.99 a month, and we got a website builder in here. Get your domain, $20, $6.99 a month, and at least it gets you started. You could come in here. You can get your emails, your hosting, some other stuff
Yeah.
you need, marketing. There's some links. There's some links in here. In fact, it'll take you over to some of the other stuff, marketing. There's actually, I think there was some other hosting and emails and websites. You got some links over to Clever Fox, and I think .com's on here as well. So it's a clever place to get started, right? If you don't have anything at all. So so that's basically what I ask them. Well, let me see your website first. So I take them over there. Then I'm like going, okay, what's the free stuff they can do, right? And keep in mind, that's a minimal cost. You're $20-$30 in and you've got a website if you can take the time to do it. And typically when you first start off, you've got plenty of time, right? Put down the Netflix for a minute, turn off that $20 Netflix, turn off that $20 Netflix for a month and pay your $20 and get a website. So don't tell me you can't afford a website if you're watching Netflix tonight, right? So again, that's a stepping stone, and then move on into some of the ones where they can actually build a lot more custom stuff that you wouldn't be able to do yourself. And then I go about, what's your Google. I mean, Google pages and Google, the maps and your Google business. That is it's free to get on there, and it's amazing how many people don't have that set up, right? So and sometimes they just don't know how to do it. So back when we were creating that, I went ahead and we created FWA.ai. And have you been on here yet, Sasha?
No, you don't share nothing with me. I'm just like
you could go in here, create an account, FWA.ai, this is all AI. This is a new version, 4.0, which is actually a speeded up version. But you could scroll through here, and I'll get into the social media links and stuff. You go down to all of these tools that are just built for this, right? And you could go down in here, and you could go to fence businesses, go in here, and you could form your corporation, LLC, get all that stuff going, safety tools, gate safety checklists, contractor's license information. But here's what you go down to. So go down to Google business pages, setup. You go in here and you put in the United States where it's going to be and some information. It's going to spit out how to do all that. So these are really, really interesting tools, and all of that stuff's built around getting them a little bit more used to having it, getting that stuff for free. And next thing you know, a few months later, you're getting some organic phone calls. So I ask them, is that stuff set up? And then I start asking, let me see your social media pages. Do you have those things set up? And then again, I send them over to the AI, and they go in there and they put in their company name, this, that, and it spits out exactly how to set up where and how you log in, set up your accounts, how to link your post. So when you post in one, it posts in all the other ones, all the simple stuff that a lot of people don't understand and how to do. And even in how to make your videos. I don't know if you saw that. Here's something that I think more people should get over and do. I mean, they wonder, what started a lot of the stuff I did was, I had a big TikTok page, right?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to go and create a script for, I built some stuff in here that'll help you actually set up a podcast ideas if you want, chain link, post blogs. You can, how to connect your Facebook and your Instagram, create a YouTube channel, go live on Media Ones. You can actually go in here and if you wanted to create a social media post just for chain link, you could put in the tone, funny, exciting, put in your company name, city, and website, and it's going to create a custom post that you can post on all social media ones for with the hashtags, everything you need on that. And I don't know if it's flipping through the pages with you, but I think it is, right?
Let's see. No, and look, Brian, that's the one thing that education, like FWA, what you guys are doing, it's really important because I think we get scared, right? Like from a fencing perspective, and I'm not very intelligent, and you're a
You
social
are.
media guru, right? Like it's very important. Like you were so right. Like it's so important to have that presence, and you've all got it set up. It's not as daunting then. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, cool, okay, I can muck around with this, I can do that. But yeah, for anyone out there, look, I'm with you. I think you have to take a look at websites, social media. How do we get to this site then, Brian? Like we just like every member of FWA can come on here.
Yeah, anybody, you could go to fwa.ai. And I'm going to show you this. Like, if you want to write a TikTok script, I just put in here subject to the script: Sasha getting hinges taken off another gate or whatever. I'm going to put funny. Okay. I'm going to show
Yeah,
you how simple this is. Length of the TikTok. Let's make one that's 30 seconds long. Okay.
yeah,
And I'm going to hit generate. Now I just switched over to this 4.0. So what it's doing is doing the work in the back. So it's going to be a little slower. It's not showing the actual words going out there, but give it a second and it's going to pop up an actual 30-second script and make a funny one that you can make a TikTok video and post that to your TikTok, your YouTube, your Facebooks, and it says timeline, 30 seconds. 0 second, view a shot of Sasha picking up a toolbox, walking towards a partially installed fence, caption, DIY fence project time. And you can do some, Sasha looks surprised, digging through the toolbox. He forgot his hinges and blah, blah,
yeah,
blah. It's timelines and timelines and timelines. And next thing you know, you got a 30-second video.
yeah,
And this is the kind of stuff that, I think that I'd like to see more people get out there and use. So, back to what I'm saying is that kind of stuff. And then social media pages and things and how to link it all. This is the stuff that you start adding credibility, and then your insurance and certificates, right?
yeah,
So, and in the insurance, and we've got stuff that, obviously we got connections in the insurance and certificates. Fence University's got your certificates and stuff. And we're creating a lot more free certificates you can get at the fence show. So if you're looking to get insurance and trying to take it to the next level, we're going to have people there to help sign you up for insurance right there on the spot at the fence show. We're going to have classes that you can do on the floor, get some certifications, and get those hung on your wall, at least show on your websites, things like this that give you a little bit more credibility on that, right? So that's
yeah,
credibility to me. And I think that's where I thought I could help the industry. And I don't think that enough of that information is out there to realize what FWA is actually working on and what we're doing, to do it. So you go over there, and it's not just that stuff. You've got things like even FWA, that's been out for, I think, almost a year and a half, right? And we've got there's over 100 people in there, and they're doing everything from lien releases, letters. You could type in the name of the employee. If he broke a tool, it'll help you type those letters up. Everything's already, the prompts, everything's filled out. You can do stuff in a second. Job offers, anything you can imagine. If you want to get licensed, and this is where the licensing and stuff that comes in, which we'll get into in a second, you can go in there, punch in what state you're in, and it'll tell you whether you need state license, county, city, and tell you how to get that stuff and where to contact it. So a lot of questions we get is, I'm in Alabama. What kind of licensing do I need? Well, we've created a platform so you could type that in there and it'll tell you, by the way, in this state, you don't need a state license, but you need a local jurisdiction license. And here's some links to do that. So I think some of that adds the credibility to it. What are your thoughts? I mean, you haven't been in that FWA.ai yet, but I got to get you linked up in it.
Look, I think like that's the scare, right? Like if you can if people can, the more information and people understand, like for example, FWA AI, man, that takes all the stress and freaking out work out. It just does it. So it makes sense. And I'm sorry, that's the tool of the now. And I feel like
Yep.
instant credibility, you're right. It really starts on social media and online. As much as I hate to say it, it's the reality of today.
Yeah.
So if if you can take that fear out, okay, how do I start? Where do I start? Where do I
Yeah.
go? And you go to FWA, I mean, you've just taken all that stress out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it helps the little guy, the fence company that's got the one truck, who can, whatever size, but it
Yeah.
really helps those guys take that. Okay, it's not that expensive, but where do you go to do it?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And
and I
this is
feel like
all out there. Yeah, this is
place,
all out there, easy to access, and
yeah,
it was built for everybody to access. Not a again, everything else is gate kept, and it seems like everything's designed by the same five people in our
mm,
industry, and it's all meant to
yep,
either bring up the barrier of entry into our industry and protect it, or stifle innovation. There is nothing to create more, create more fencers and more stuff in the industry like we're putting out. So I think that's
yeah.
where, and I think that's where I hit a lot of walls because our industry doesn't like change.
If I'm getting told to leave, they're sending attack dogs after me to leave the show. So I
Oh shoot.
apologise about that dog that's barking in the. He's going to bite me if I leave. But hey, all right, I'm leaving. But no, you're right. It's really. I feel like the biggest thing, Brian, is it's accessibility.
Yeah.
What we've created, and you call them gatekeeper. I really like that gatekeeper terminology because all you're doing is stifling accessibilities to the people that you've graded a certain
Yeah.
way, right? And I'm sorry, my blood's the same color as anybody else out there in the
Yeah.
fencing industry, and everyone deserves accessibility. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now
So
it's going to be different. Yeah, the companies can afford more marketing and more social.
yeah.
Get that, but
Yeah.
the little guys and ladies should have access to that as well in some form
Yeah.
or another. I
Yeah.
think
And not just that.
that's what you're
We, we
doing.
we got forums you can go, and these are the same forums I use at Las Vegas Fence. So, I mean, you can go and change logos, move it around, and you've got an estimate sheet for them now. And you know what I mean? You could go and this will help you write some of your terms and agreements as well in there. So, work orders. We've got work orders. I don't do a lot of vinyl and wood. So if you're looking for somebody that's going to help you write a vinyl and wood work order, I'm probably not your best bet, but I can sync you up with somebody that could, right? So
Yeah,
call, obviously. And I want people to remember that call. Credibility, accounts, leads, and licensing. So we went through credibility. Now accounts. Accounts is a big one, right? I mean, accounts with suppliers, manufacturers, and distributors. Now, the reason I said distributors is because, and suppliers, even though it's the exact same thing, is because some
yeah,
people think of suppliers, some people think of it as a supplier and some people think of it as distributor, which is the person that buys from the manufacturer and then sells to the fence companies. It's the way the normal system works, right? So accounts, and I think this is where we excelled. This is where we changed the game. I mean, and you're a prime person to bring this up. We have opened up the market to small fence companies to where there is a race. There is a race to sign up small fence companies now. You walk up
yep,
to most of the distributors or suppliers, and even some of the manufacturers, and they're afraid to turn you away now, right? Because they know that if they don't sign you up, we're going to sync them up with someone that will. And I
yep,
think what I'd love to see was you're seeing even a lot more of the distributors and stuff at the fence show, which is great, right? We've had some that were legacy ones that kind of started with us in the beginning, and now it seems like more of them are coming around. They're realizing it's year 3, we're not going anywhere, so and that's where the people are, and we have a lot of fencers walking around, right? So that's really cool to see them, and we wanted them there, right? But you look at like Homeland. Look at what Homeland did, man. They have an entire aisle, and instead of making themselves the center point, and this is what shows you that this show was built for the fencers. Go to another
mm,
show, and there would be because it's where it's almost like where manufacturers go to talk to distributors. It's a whole
yep,
other level, right?
yep,
And our show is built for the distributors to talk to the fencers. So if you're a fencer, this is what this is designed for. They bought a whole aisle away basically and brought in all of their distributors. So
yep,
no matter where you are in the country, there's probably a Homeland distributor there. right? That'll sell you. So I think this is what's starting a whole new revolution in shows, and this is probably the future of our industry. And the
Yeah.
future of how it's going is a fight for service and servicing the fence companies. So if you are looking for new accounts, in fact, if you were to talk to any distributor that comes to us that's ever had a conversation with me at the fence show, I say, and you've heard me say it 100 times, if you're going to come, I'd rather you not spend $500,000 building a booth and buy a pallet of books and put them in the middle of your booth, build a counter and sign people up and have everybody walking around with your books, because I'm telling people to come thousands of miles to this expo. So if you are a distributor and you're listening, I'll say it again, sign people up, bring people. You don't need to bring more executives, bring more people that are sitting on a computer and sign people up. Not that I don't want you to bring the executives. We love them too. But you know what I mean though. But I'm just saying this is the show where if you're looking for credibility, accounts, this is what the accounts are about, is this fence show and getting there and getting a new account set up with a distributor or a supplier that you didn't think you could get set up with. And I think you'll agree with that, right?
Oh man, it's like the last thing I'm going to do is ask you to sign. So I'm going to give you a beer and go, come on, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? How can I help you? If I can't help you, there's guys over here. Like, let's go. What do you need?
Yeah.
This whole
But that's
signing
everywhere, though. I think that's everywhere. Go to this show and you'll see we moved the. First off, I don't have as much room, right? Even though there's hundreds of exhibitors, the aisles are 10 feet apart. It's easy to make a hall look big when you got them aisles 30 feet apart, right? So, granted, I could be twice as big if I was 30-foot aisles, but these are 8-10 foot wide aisles, and everybody's at the end. The people exhibiting are at the end of the aisle. They're out there. They're at the end of it, right? And they're like going, "Hey, hey, what's going on? Where are you from? Let's come on in and talk." And I think there's more networking going on at this show than probably ever has happened at a fence show in the history that I remember shows. So I think it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. So, and at the end of the day, look, I'll meet anyone, but at the end of the day, I'm sort of wasting my time if I'm meeting with someone that doesn't want to do business with me. I want to do business with people I want to do business. And if I can't service you, I know people that I can send you to, right? It's that networking, right? It's that whole circle of inner circle. And the show for us has always been successful. And I feel like we're meeting people. Look, man, if we had we'll go back to our very first podcast after your very first show. The biggest eye opener for me 3 years ago, bro. Can you remember? You've been doing shows for 3 years. It's crazy,
this is
right?
third year. That's nuts. They said we wouldn't be able to do one.
Yeah, people say a lot of things, bro. Like we can tell you that for facts. But the cool thing was, I didn't realize that fence companies couldn't buy product. They were going to, and don't take this out of context. There's nothing wrong with Home Depot or Lowe's. They're very good to our industry as well. But it just blew my little pea brain. That, what do you mean? They're like, well, we don't have a yard, we don't have a forklift, or it's this, or it's too expensive. I'm like, well, you've come to the right show. For me, it was a complete eye opener because I never thought that in my brain. Even though everyone knows my background, I work for one of the biggest, whatever they are, like comes in America. I was like, really? Like, I thought they were lying, but it was like one after the other after the. I was just like, wow, this is how we're going to treat fence companies. Man, I could care less if you got a bicycle and you're putting a post in it. Like, I could care less.
Yeah.
I'm going to service you, right? Because at the end of the day, my job is to not put you in a category. My job is to service the industry, and I want to work with fair and honest people. And that's what I do. I don't really care if you've got a yard or a forklift. If you need a fence, you're a fence person, and you're doing what's right. I think for me tonight, I'm going to openly say I define a truck as a truck as a basic cheapskate, not really taking care of our industry, trying to cut corners. Everybody else to me is a fence installer and a fence company. I'm sorry. That's sort of how I view that word now, if that makes sense.
And I like that you said it because you said Home Depot and Lowe's earlier. And I think that we purposely, here's the irony of the whole thing. Okay. Our industry and our distributors and suppliers and manufacturers, they fight over supplying the Home Depots and the Lowe's and the big box stores. I mean, fight over it. to the point where they're using us as a reason to come to the town to drop all the materials off at a better price at the Home Depots and Lowe's, right? So
Yeah.
they're fighting for those contracts, but yet if we consider people that buy from Home Depot and Lowe's, trunk slammers or truck, all the stuff we were talking about. So I like you said that just because somebody, again, if you're a legitimate company and you buy your materials from Home Depot or Lowe's, it doesn't make you less of a fence company. Now,
No,
it's absolutely ridiculous thing to say. Now, and I get that sometimes there's different quality materials and things like this, but it doesn't devalue your company because you didn't buy from a specific person, because maybe you couldn't, right?
Yeah. Here's how I look how we've treated defense companies in our industry. I don't know what you call them, but those barricades where you're like, here's the desk, but I have to do this
Mm-hmm.
to get to the desk. I could have just gone straight to the
Yeah.
desk, but for some reason, I've got to go. They're barricading me, and I've got to go around this snake. And I'm a fat guy, and I'm like, can I just get to the end? I'm like, I feel like that's how we've treated our fence
Yeah.
companies as distributors. And I'm speaking from the distributor side, right? Because I'm like, just get them to the desk. Don't worry
Yeah.
about channeling them into. Just get them to the desk, and we work it out together. And
But I
you'll
can
be
tell you what's changed. And anybody that's listening or watching, if you're on one of those, I don't know, what do they call the one where this thing streams over to those like Apple channels where people listen to it in their car. And what is that called? I don't even remember what that's called. So somehow it's linked to, it goes out to all the different channels and stuff. But if you're listening, watching, I'm telling you this right now, every single person that's coming to the fence show and getting a booth, the reason they're there is because they're breaking the mold. And they're there because they want to sign people up. So if you're looking for the ones that actually truly support the industry and aren't for gatekeeping and for trying to limit who gets what materials and access, hey, if you want to find out who those people are, just look at the list and you'll see they're not on the list, right? Because the people that are for connecting and supporting the fence companies and the small ones, all the way down to the one truck, operations, they're at this fence show. And if they don't support them, that's the reason they're not there. That's all I can get out of it, because no way you're going to convince me you don't know about this show now. So,
yeah.
3
years in, and like I said, like you said, to the fence universe and people that are interested in fencing, you've got to come to this show. You've got to come and meet the team, meet the FWA team, the FWA women team. But besides that, the vendors that are there are really there
to sign
because
up.
we want to sell to you. We want to get you to our desk and not have to do this and deter you from coming. And then, by the way, too, I heard a rumor that there's going to be a massive party at the show. Something going on. I don't know what it is.
Oh my God, JC Gurry's 75th. How cool is that? And you know what? They're amazing. We've been working with them now for obviously months and months, and they've been there every year, right? So the biggest booth they ever had was at our show, and we thought it was 10 by 20. This year they got, I think, a 20 by 20. And they're shutting down JC Gurry basically and bringing their entire staff. They've never done that. There've never been more than 2 people, I don't think, at a show, and much less a 20 by 20. And they're throwing a massive party the night before, which is instead of like a kickoff party, it's basically like a kickoff party, but it's the JC Gurry 75th anniversary customer appreciation. They've got a bunch of their customers coming and everybody, which will be pretty cool. And they want to show off the biggest booth they ever had, and they're going to be doing some cool stuff in there. So that's the 29th, right before the show. Yeah, 30th. I don't know why I keep saying 29th, but yeah,
that is history right there.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's pretty cool. And then Homeland's doing their party on Thursday with the Spasmatics, which is a really cool, and that's on property. So again, you don't have to leave the property if you don't want. But Wednesday is going to be a really cool day too, because it's going to be a strip night where we're all going down to the strip. Everybody's going to be able to go do whatever they want and get some discounts. But nonetheless, credibility, right? So we've got credibility, accounts, leads, and licensing. So we've got credibility, right? We've got accounts. Go to the fence show, right? And credibility, go to fwa.ai, get some presents, go to fencename.com, get your certificates at Fence University. I mean, we really worked hard to take a small fence company, a guy that's doing it on the weekend, or even a smaller company, and help turn him from 1 truck into 5, right? So you've got credibility, accounts, leads. Now, leads comes from your credibility, right? And once you get all this presence and this, business and stuff get set up in your organic leads, but that's not all. That's not all. You know us, right?
But wait, there's more.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
We'll give you 2.
Yeah.
Obviously use that for your fence, your social media post in the Google Maps and things like that. But you could go to fencebid.com and you could set up some free, basically a free listing, and it indexes pretty well, and you're getting out there, and we help promote that and push that to try to drive leads to you, where it's basically almost like a Yellow Pages in a way for fencing. And then Fence Social. So that's where I don't think a lot of people are taking advantage of. I mean, there's a full app you could download, use it. It's a platform that's designed for. It was originally designed for shows and events and stuff, so people could put on events. And we're already. It's going to be utilized at the fence show as well. So it's going to be the lead scanner at the fence show. And after this, you'll be able to print your own badges and do your own personal events. At your place at limited, if not no cost. So fencesocial.com, set your account up on that one as well. And that's going to be utilized at the show, and you're going to be able to communicate with people. So instead of just going and recycling network, our industry has been recycling networking for a decade or two, it feels like, right? And you could sit in a booth. You could normally sit in a booth and you could look down the aisleway and you know who's walking up before they even get to you, right? You could write down on a piece of paper who's going to dinner with who's going to lunch with who, right? Who's having drinks with who. And it's probably, and guess what? And guess what? It's probably not you. Right?
Yep.
So this is, and I think that's what's changed is how much effort we're doing trying to get new people there. And so fence and I think it's because once you do this, they scan your badge or something, and maybe somebody calls you, they don't. Well, we're working hard to connect you afterwards. So all year now you're going to be able to communicate on a platform that we're used to using, that's dedicated to just all of us networking with suppliers, manufacturers, and everybody. So fencesocial.com, you definitely got to check that out. You might as well go download it now, because if you're coming to the show, you're going to be downloading at the show to access everything, right? So go fencesocial.com.
Yep.
And then licensing.
And I think, Brian, too, that going back to leads and all of that stuff, you got to be part of the community, right? So fence companies, you got to be part of it. So the best place to start is FWA, right? It's a community, it's closed niched. Most of us want to help you, and it's like, get in there. So get dirty, come in, join these little platforms, and they're big. There's big support for these things, so you've got to get in it as well from the install
and you're
side.
setting up. When I started, it was me and my wife. That was it, right? And we had materials on the side of my house. And, I had a truck. I bought one of them trucks that, that Home Depot would use to move stuff with the aluminum beds. I bought that in a used place and had one of those. But nonetheless, and then before that, it was like a little S10 truck, right? So having resources, FWA said, okay, what are we going to do even? And the women of FWA came around, right? Yeah. And if you notice, I mean, they are just some of the most generous group of gals you'll ever meet. And they're working in everything from small to large companies in our industry, right? So you could reach out to any of them and get involved. So if you're a small company and it's you and your wife, get your wife or your girlfriend, or even if you've got someone in your staff, get them part of the Women of FWA. And if you have questions, just ask them. I mean, if you had a question about some topic of procedures or HR, they'll do a whole podcast on it. They'll bring you on and they'll address it and get right to the nitty gritty of it. And it's stuff that even I would be able to answer,
So much smarter than us guys, right? They are in it. And I'm like, just use it. And they're so amazing. They're so willing to help. And that's so refreshing. That's why FWA has gone and just in leaps and bounds in 3 years, when from the day dot when everyone's like, it's not going to happen.
No.
Okay, second year to now third, you're like, guys, you've got to use these. They're amazing people. And if you don't use them, you're missing out, because there's just when I did fencing for the first time, Brian, there was nothing what do? You've got to learn as you go, right? It's like, oh, crap, you know what a fence is, but how do you get more work with contracts and bidding processes? And like you said, credibility, there's a place where it's all set up, and utilize it, because they're really good people. It's an amazing organization. Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's great to see it and to actually see it grow and see why it grow. But I think a lot of people don't realize how much is actually out there and what we're actually doing, because maybe it's, and we've got so many different sites and so many different things that people are utilizing that you might not even realize that it's part of FWA. And that we've created all this with this same purpose of trying to build it up. And the industry pushed against it in the beginning, obviously. And, but now you're seeing, they said you can't do online stuff. Now everybody wants to do online certificates. They said, the healthcare, why it wasn't created before, I have no idea, because it took me about a year, granted. But we've been doing this for like 60 years trying to help fence companies, right? And yet we couldn't create a healthcare. So I mean, this is all the stuff that's been going on that's being created now. That now you're going to see everybody that said it couldn't be done or you couldn't do it. Now everybody, there's 2 or 3 of them. Now there's an event every week, and you'll see. What's going to be funny around the fence show? You'll see our legacy groups and legacy associations, everything just pile stuff around it, trying to, because they still don't 100% want this stuff to succeed, but they should, and we should. I mean, there should be everybody pushing each other to each other's shows, to be honest. I mean, yeah. And why do you think I get booth? I mean, what is it? Last year, the year before, I got a booth at the at the one in Nashville. I always announce I'm going. I do this. I support it. I bring people. It's because one show not succeeding hurts another show. I mean, if my show's the first show that you did and you didn't do well, you might not do another show, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I push so hard, same thing with theirs. So the reason I push so hard for even you and your staff, if I see, you brought 6 people, maybe you paid for the booth and you don't know, and they're not scanning badges, they're not working it. I know I got to say something to you. Look, man, they're not getting any leads. You might look at it next year. You weren't there. I got no leads. Well, they weren't doing anything, right? They were just drinking and hanging out, right? Or talking to each other. So
our booth's a dry booth. No drinking's allowed in our booth. So it wouldn't have been our
right.
Yeah.
But I think you'll see. I think you're seeing it's open now, and I love to see my conversations, even with the larger distributors now, are completely different than before I ever did the first show. And it's open, and even having the conversations with them, it's amazing to see how they're embracing it. You know what I mean? And they're like going, "Man, I love this." They're loving it. They're loving connecting with the small fence companies again, which is how they were all built on, right? And for some reason, we strayed away from it. Our industry going in the wrong direction. We believe that professionalism and credibility all is going to come from policy. Because you know why? Is because honestly, if you want to start an association and make money, don't do it the way I'm doing it. Okay. I'm telling you that right now. Okay. There's no money in it this way. Unless you've got another company like Las Vegas Fence or some other company to fund it, don't start an association and think you're going to make any money doing it the way I'm doing it. The money is in policy. The money's in policy. So and the problem is that would go against everything that we've created, right? The money is creating standards, rules, laws, and then getting the government to enforce it and banning with public consumer protection groups, and then getting manufacturers that want all this to happen to sponsor all your stuff. And there's a reason that you can get all these people to throw hundreds of thousands at events and things like this, because they need you to go talk as an association and say this is what the industry wants. So the money's in the policy, selling, obviously standards, certificates, classes, all this other stuff. It's not in this stuff. Helping small fence companies is not where the money's at. So, right? But
and I think that's what people have to understand, Brian. They don't know really your end of the fence, because you have Las Vegas Fence, but running a fence show, good luck when you're trying to offer affordable program like health insurance. Look, I don't know anyone out there that's listening to this. Take heed to this. As an Australian, we don't have to worry about health insurance, right? Because it's there's a lot of problems on the other side. We're not here to discuss that. But when you come to America, health insurance is big. And I'm sorry, I've been in this industry not as long as most of you people out there that are listening, but I've been doing this for over 10 years in America. And FWA was the first association to really say, hey, guys, we're offering health insurance. We're putting this package together so that you can at least take basic care of you and your family. And as an ex-contractor, business owner, dude, it's hard. You're always penny scrimping. You're trying to work out, well, how am I going to pay for over in California, Blue Cross Blue Shield? That thing's a rip-off, right? Your plans are affordable. And it's a start. Guys, get in. You can take care. This is why I encourage everyone got to use FWA's resources. It's not expensive, and they're there to help you, but use them, because the more we use them, you guys use them, the more this industry is going to empower you. And the more we can use FWA and FWA women, the more we're empowering our industry to get stronger and stronger. And then one day offer really good insurance or whatever. 401s at some point. But the point is, that's the key. And you've got a resource. Got to shout it from the rooftop, guys. We need everybody to get in there and look at it. Look, dude, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to look at FWA look, I've known you for a long time, and I'm like, oh wow, in that space, a little time, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm
Yeah.
getting in there because it's a tool that I'm scared of.
Yeah.
I know what you're about. Like, Brian, we have so much fun because we call you the social media fence guy. Like, dude, you are everywhere. I am scared of social media, bro. I don't know what. I hit that button, there's a nuclear bomb going off in Australia. No, it's not that bad,
Yeah.
Sash. And I'm grabbing the laptop going, smashing it because I'm like, what's going it's scary. And I feel
It's
like, guys, you've got the tools. Don't be
yeah.
scared. Just use them. Don't
Yeah.
hide behind excuses. Well, I don't know what I'm. Well, yes, you do.
Yeah.
I encourage those girlfriend, boyfriend companies, husband, wife companies, get in the FWA, use the resources. It's built for you.
Yeah.
It's literally built for
Well, and
you.
it may not be organized sometimes, right? I mean, because I mean, we got a whole new site coming out in the next few weeks where it's going
What's
to
all
bring it together and
bro?
more. But I mean, and you know what? I mean, honestly, you would be surprised how attacked we are on a constant basis from legacy groups and stuff like that, right? That just they don't want this to be here, right? So to a degree, it messes up everything, right? But nonetheless, because it makes everybody have to work. But because I mean, creating health insurance is not hard if all you do is want to find health companies that are going to service people that have 10 employees or more. I mean, I could have got 30 of those. I mean, the first 20 people I sat with, that's what it was. They couldn't do it. But if you truly want to help the industry, you got to have the grit to sit down and the tenacity to sit there and say, and they're going to tell you what you want to hear in the meetings. You got to sit there and say, no, you don't understand. I don't want a policy unless every single one of my members would qualify for it. And they're like, well, I don't understand. You just got this guy where it's just him. That's correct. That's what I want to find. And it's just endless meeting after endless meeting after endless meeting. And I don't believe our industry was doing that for us. And
Nah,
the same thing. We weren't out there negotiating, trying to help make sure manufacturers and suppliers were selling to defense companies. We didn't care. We just wanted to make sure we were getting paid so that we could continue pushing our policy. And right, that's it. And that was pretty much it. And as long as, and like I said, you could write down who's going to dinner with who's having lunch with who's having drinks, and it wasn't me and you. That's all I know. And it was exactly, I mean, to a T. So
it definitely wasn't me. Yeah, for sure.
you and I. But
We're
I think so.
having
It's great.
together, me and you. Yeah, yeah.
We just, you and I having dinner together. But yeah, but I think it's great to see it because they came around, man. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, even some of the conversations I've had, with a lot of some of the manufacturers, the distributors that wouldn't talk to me. There's still a couple that won't support us because again, it's about policy. They, you know what I mean, and we're not for creating more policy, so therefore you won't see them at our show. To be honest, you know what I mean. If we're not, pushing policy that messes up and I think hopefully that'll come around and they'll realize that me and FWA, you'll even see a couple people that, maybe sometimes they'll separate a little bit and then come back and I don't support because you're doing this. And I've had conversations. I go, look, I can guarantee you, if you think I'm competing with you or we're doing something that could hurt your policy, whatever you're doing, whatever direction you're going in, FWA and me personally will always bring you more business than I would ever be able to take from you.
Yeah.
It's not even possible because if I'm in any kind of these things, I'm going to try to build hype around it. I'm going to bring people, I'm going to get people talking about it. And you're going to get more leads than you would ever lose by having even a competing company of mine. Because obviously, I have my own businesses, right? So
Yes.
I love seeing how it's changing and it's coming around. And will some of these other bigger ones that just want laws and regulations do it? Who knows? But hopefully, right? Because doors always open. By the way, if you're listening, the door's always open.
I think you said something really that you don't get enough credit for, and FWA and FW women don't get enough credit for. You guys don't really rubbish anyone, right? We got this demean, like there's this whole stigma that these people that are trying to help the industry, they're just ruining it, blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah. Really haven't. And testimony to what I've learnt and watching FWA and FWA women grow over the last 3 years is that I give credit. And you're the one, because I'm I'm like, no, X everyone out, cut them out, throw them out.
I know, right?
Right? Like, F them all. And you
I'm
were
like,
the one,
Sasha, relax.
yeah, you were
We
like, dude,
need them. They're
right?
part of our industry.
Yeah. That's the problem, right? You get passionate, but you got to let things go, right? And the one thing you did say, and the one thing always love about our industry, as old as our industry is, it's a very tight knit industry. It's not as big as like plumbing and electrical. So at the end of the day, it's like having a fight with your sister or your brother. At the end of the day, you're going to hug each other and go, okay, let's work it out. And that's what I feel over the three. And I'm just looking from the outside in, right? Because I
Yeah.
might just throw a grenade in it, screw everyone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't about that. You just got to let people come around and go, no, you know what? What is wrong with having to this day, Brian, there is nothing wrong with having two fence shows.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't see it. I'm like, the more shows we have, the more people, the more
Yeah.
fence companies we can help. So
And
this whole thing that's coming around, and you call them the legacy companies, they're coming around, which is awesome because at the end of the day, we need to get in this huddle and remember why our companies are here and why our companies were successful, because we cannot do it without each other. I
yeah.
say this all the time to my staff, all the time. Your fence company is your partner. They don't, you're not there to do one deal with them, you're there to do a lifetimes of deals together.
Yeah.
So it's a partnership. And sometimes it goes well, so, you have your moments, but at the end of the day, that's what this is about. So it's not. I agree. You are the one that stopped me from throwing the grenade, right? Because you're right. I don't care what anyone's listening out there.
Yeah.
FWA and FWA women have never really talked smack. They've supported shows. They've supported people that I would never support. Just straight up
Yeah.
telling you live.
Yeah.
That's what you taught me. Let it go, bro. Because in the end, we're here for the fence industry.
Yeah.
We're not here to have these moments of policies, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
that's
it doesn't
that's that's a
it
lesson
doesn't
I learned.
benefit the industry. By any means. It doesn't benefit the industry for and we take a lot of bullets, make no mistake. A lot of stuff is thrown, and to the point where they'll attack almost, right? My own company here, right? Trying to stop what's going on. But I know that it's like I look at it like a Google review. When a customer writes a bad review, do you make it more relevant by defending yourself? And last thing you want is a debate online with
Right.
a customer on your Google page, right? Because now it just makes it the most relevant review you have. It keeps it
Yep.
right to the top. So
Yes.
and you can never, once you start attacking that customer back, you can never flip that customer. So I look at it like this. So those legacy, some of the larger ones or the legacy groups or associations, whatever they are that had this problem with us or whatever we're doing, that we're throwing the bullets and saying stuff and going having their meetings, whatever it is, it's not going to help the situation if I went and started attacking back. Now something's going to be said that can't be undone. And I'd rather leave an open door, an olive branch out there and pretend that they didn't say what they said a year or two ago, right? Because the industry is going to be stronger if
Yeah.
if we all
100%.
work together. It doesn't help the industry, and nobody will understand what we're fighting about anyway. So it doesn't help the industry if there's this a war going on. So imagine how great these two shows would be, and everybody knows we're talking about Fence Show and Fence Tech on those, right? So imagine how
I
great.
wasn't sure. I wasn't 100%
Yeah.
sure.
Imagine
No.
how great those would be if we were actually both
Yep.
promoting the shows together and helping those exhibitors and vendors make money and helping
Yes.
the attendees make connections and,
Yep.
and doing it. Imagine how amazing those shows would be if that was actually going on instead of trying to make the other shows not succeed, or you know what I mean, whatever it is, right? That would be
Yep.
an amazing. That's how you make a stronger industry. And I think that give it time. Right? Give it time. You watch. You give it
Yeah.
time. There'll
No.
be one of their booths at our show at theirs, and we're going to
Yep.
be like, hey, we're going to be promoting the next show, and the next show will be obviously Leapfrog, whatever it is, right? So it's I think that's my vision, for the future kind of the industry to a degree, and I'd like to see it happen, but it's hard to say. But I think also because while I may not like the direction, that our legacy groups and stuff was going in, I may have thought it was a bad direction. It doesn't mean they're bad people, right?
No.
It's just there's a lot of great people. I mean, it's amazing. I've had great conversation. I still talk to a lot of board members from other groups and things like this. So it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just a bad direction it was going in when it comes to certain things, right? So it's going to all fix itself and right itself in the end. And hopefully I'll end up with a new board and I'll be back to selling materials and fence installations and doing what I do best.
Sweeping your yard, buddy. Yep. Sweep your yard. Yep. Brian, look, as for different levels, right? Lion has gone through a lot of rubbish.
Yeah.
Personally, myself, owner as well. all rubbish, by the way. And
Yeah.
you get swept up in it, and then watching FWA sort of do its thing, try to be, hey, dude, let's try to be Switzerland, be neutral as much as we can. We can only take so many bullets, but I feel like I'm starting to see that swing. The swing that you were like, get off the ledge, Sash. I need to throw out a nuclear bomb at this. Just let it go, man. Don't take it. And I realized, you know what, you're right, because there's so many great distributors, manufacturers, there's so many great install companies, and slowly but surely these legacy companies are sort of coming around, and that's what excites me, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about competition, and what matters is defense companies. And
Yep.
if we can all do right by them, all of our industry will just grow. It's like that volcano theory. It'll rumble and it'll just grow, and it'll just benefit everybody. Like,
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing about it. It's not just going to benefit this company and this legacy. No, it's going to benefit all of us, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You have product, I have product. Sometimes you run out, you need it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what this
I
is
think it's
about.
changing. Like I said, I mean, I wish I could tell everybody the conversations I have now compared to the ones that were 2-3 years ago. But if anybody would even talk to me at some of these places, right? But nonetheless, they're completely. I'm telling you, and there's a lot of changes even at the some of them, right? And a lot of new people and stuff coming in. I think that's what's going to happen even in the legacy groups and associations and all this stuff. You're going to see new people come in that are part of this new idea that's happening here, right? This new way of taking care of the industry. So you're going to see, even with the manufacturers and suppliers and stuff, you're going to see a whole new group of people that they don't have any beef. We're not, you know what I mean? They're not being challenged or intimidated. So it's awesome to see, to see it happening. So Sasha, again, man, you know us, you and I could go on for like 3 hours. We've done it, right?
Blow up the internet, because they're like, dude, can you two shut up? All right.
I know. So again, we're talking about helping small businesses. We're trying to fix the close it out with that. What the chuck in a truck. So we got to we can use those terms, but let's know what they are. Just because you're a small one truck outfit doesn't mean you got to let people
You're a
insult
fence
you.
company.
Yeah, you're a fence company. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're a fence company, and that what separates you is call. Remember that credibility, accounts, leads, and licensing. So go back and watch this if you want to hear a little bit more. We got all kinds of resources out there that I couldn't even go through them all on there, to be honest. That's why even Sasha, it probably seems like new stuff to you all the time, but this is all stuff we just been working on for years. So super excited to have you on, and everybody out there. Sasha, any last minute things you want to say?
Remember the show, guys. This is coming up in October. You've got to be there. Both vendors and installers, guys. It's going to be a great show. Got to be at the 75th anniversary of JC Guri
Yep.
days. As a legend. All I ask is that they bring out a sign as old as they could find in their files, because these guys have amazing fence signs that are just historical. So, and enjoy it.
And
Come
there's a sign competition. So bring your fence sign. Yeah.
and just come and see what FWA and FW women are about. It's worth it. 100%.
So get registered, fenceshow.com. The show was built, like we said, around getting everybody there. Bring your whole team. There's plenty of stuff for everybody to do. The show was built to bring your whole team. You can bring a couple people with you. I think even one person, it's low as with most cities you fly from to Las Vegas with the hotel room, double occupancy in a room. I think it's like $42 a day it costs you for hotel and flights, everything, to bring somebody to the fence show with you. So there's no reason to not bring your whole staff.
No, I'm a vegetarian and I don't drink a lot. So all I know is that South Point, guys, it's affordable. The rooms are amazing. Food's amazing. It's just a good time where it's not that expensive to have a great time in Vegas.
What
You're
are the rooms?
missing out.
$85. $85 for and these rooms are big. Double. I mean, you definitely could squeeze a couple people in comfortably. These aren't little tiny rooms where you're cramped. I mean, these are large rooms. So awesome. We'll see everybody. I know we've been calling around. There's a lot of hype and excitement around the show right now. We're getting tons of great feedback. So we're excited. Go to fenceshow.com, get registered for the show. Get your hotel room booked, because last year we had to extend the room booking, or the room block, like twice. And I don't know, there's always rodeo stuff going on. So it's always a hit and miss whether I'm going to be able to extend it past our room block. So get those cheap rooms before they go up to like $200-300, right?
Yeah, and they're amazing. And by the way, Brian, I really have to go. There's this dog they're
All
literally
right, we're done.
bench show as we speak,
Go,
mate.
yeah, go wash your dog. All right. All right. All right, everybody. If you're listening, thank you. If you're listening later, thank you again. We will see everybody in Las Vegas, but I'll be on next Wednesday. Sasha, thanks.
All right, guys, have fun.